بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah, everybody's doing well, everybody's good tonight. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of us. Okay, so tonight we have with us one of the greatest Imams. So inshallah, we'll take off the lights in a second. One of the biggest of the biggest. Okay, one of the big mountains. We're talking about Imams of Hadith. All right, arguably the best, the top of his era, of his class, without any dispute. Knowledge, output, piety, righteousness, aqidah, so on and so forth. Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah ta'ala. And we'll get to his biography soon enough, inshallah. Right now, from last week, we were going over the biography of who? Who did we talk about last week, man? Imam Malik, Imam Dar al-Hijrah. Alright? So we mentioned his biography, his life, where he was born, how he was raised, etc. And now, we're going to read from his magnum opus, the main book that he put out, which is Al-Muwatta, Muwatta Malik. Alright? As we've been doing, Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, so on and so forth. So our reader tonight is who? Ya Abab al-Khair, Aqbil. Who wants the reward? Inshallah.
I take the reward.
You take the reward? Bismillah. Jazakallah khairan. May Allah accept. You enter حر تحت كتاب أي موضع.
إن شاء الله.
لكن كلنا عشان نبرزه في الشاشة. Maybe if we can take off the lights here, or keep the lights for him.
No, it's good for me.
You good? Without the lights?
Yeah.
Okay. Bismillah.
باب ما جاء في سجود القرآن.
سجود القرآن. صفحة كم؟
205.
205. Okay. كذا باب ما جاء في سجود القرآن. بسم الله. جزاك الله خيرا.
حدثني يحيى عن مالك عن عبد الله بن يزيد مولى الأسود بن سفيان عن أبي سلمة بن عبد الرحمن أن أبا هريرة قرأ لهم إذا السماء انشقت فسجد فيها فلما انصرف أخبرهم أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سجد فيها. وحدثني عن مالك عن نافع مولى بن عمر أن رجلا من أهل مصر أخبره أن عمر بن الخطاب قرأ سورة الحج فسجد فيها سجدتين ثم قال إن هذه السورة فضلت بسجدتين. وحدثني عن مالك عن عبد الله بن دينار أنه قال رأيت عبد الله بن عمر يسجد في سورة الحج سجدتين. وحدثني عن مالك عن ابن شهاب عن الأعرج أن عمر بن الخطاب قرأ بالنجم إذا هوى فسجد فيها ثم قام فقرأ بسورة أخرى. وحدثني عن مالك عن هشام بن عروة عن أبيه أن عمر بن الخطاب قرأ سجدة وهو على المنبر يوم الجمعة فنزل فسجد وسجد الناس معه ثم قرأها يوم الجمعة الأخرى فتهيأ الناس للسجود فقال على رسلكم إن الله لم يكتبها علينا إلا أن نشاء فلم يسجد ومنعهم أن يسجدوا. قال مالك ليس العمل على أن ينزل الإمام إذا قرأ السجدة على المنبر فيسجد. قال مالك الأمر عندنا أن عزائم سجود القرآن 11 سجدة ليس في المفصل منها شيء. قال مالك لا ينبغي لأحد يقرأ من سجود القرآن شيئا بعد صلاة الصبح ولا بعد صلاة العصر، وذلك أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن الصلاة بعد الصبح حتى تطلع الشمس، وعن الصلاة بعد العصر حتى تغرب الشمس، والسجدة من الصلاة فلا ينبغي لأحد أن يقرأ سجدة في تينك الساعتين.
يعني تلك.
Yes.
نعم.
سئل مالك عمن قرأ سجدة وامرأة حائض تسمع هل لها أن تسجد؟ قال مالك لا يسجد الرجل ولا المرأة إلا وهما طاهران. وسئل عن امرأة قرأت سجدة ورجل معها يسمع عليه أن يسجد معها؟ قال مالك ليس عليه أن يسجد معها، إنما تجب السجدة على القوم يكونون مع الرجل فيأتمون به فيقرأ السجدة فيسجدون معه، وليس على من سمع سجدة من إنسان يقرأها ليس له بإمام أن يسجد تلك السجدة.
جزاكم الله خيرا. أحسنتم. Alright. So we can keep it, hold it, inshallah. Muwatta Malik. This is one version. Can you take all the lights off, please? Inshallah. Oh, okay, all of them, everything off? Alright, perfect. So this is one version of Muwatta Malik. Pay attention to the similarities, the parallels of Malik's book compared to Bukhari, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, etc. Same or different, okay? So here it says, Babu ma ja'a fi sujud al-Quran. And obviously, هذه الأرقام 5, 12, 13, none of those things are from Malik's pen. هذا كله من عمل المحقق المرقم. طيب, so it says, Babu ma ja'a fi sujud al-Quran. What is mentioned? باب ما جاء عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، ما جاء عن الصحابة، ما جاء عن التابعين من الأحكام والآداب. He says what's mentioned, what has been mentioned, meaning from the Prophet, meaning from the Sahaba, meaning from the people of the pious predecessors, the Salaf al-Salih. What did they do? How did they understand? How did they behave concerning this matter? Obligatory, haram, disliked, preferred? What are the rulings? What are the fada'il of prostrating when you hear certain verses from the Quran? Certain verses from the Quran. And how do we know when we should or shouldn't make sujood when listening to the Quran? Did the Prophet ﷺ place that symbol, or that emblem in the Mus'haf? Did he put that there? How do we know? Everything, including the Quran, Uloomul Quran, everything, the ahkam, everything is based off of the athar, the hadith. Don't ever forget that. All of the things that you have in Islam come from the narration. Alright? So that's food for thought. The importance of the hadith in al-Islam. Okay, moving forward. And obviously we know what many of the early Imams would say, يريدون أن يجرحوا شهودنا. هؤلاء يريدون أن يجرحوا شهودنا. The people who attack the Sahaba and say negative, nasty things about them, in reality, they only want to destroy, because the Sahaba brought everything. So if we say that these companions are wicked, hypocrites, sinners, evil people, what's left? If the witness has been defamed and disparaged, his entire testimony is now what? What's the testimony in court? It's nothing. We've proven perjury. We've proven that the witness is lied under oath. We've proved that the witness is inaccurate. So everything that he says in his testimony now means nothing. Alright? So, move forward. What are the rulings pertaining to sujood of the Quran? Hadathani Yahya, who? There's a student narrating from Yahya. And this man Yahya is known as Al-Laythi. And there are several versions of Malik's Muwatta. As I teach the class to you, you go home, he said this tonight. He said that tonight. You report the whole class. You walked outside, you used the bathroom, you fell asleep. You didn't know what I was talking about tonight, etc., etc. So everyone's going to go home and tell of their experience at the masjid. And it will be different versions of my class. Everyone understand this? Or we're doing a different class in which you attended but you didn't attend. So Imam Malik, rahimahullah, there are riwayat of the Muwatta. Different learners who came to him at different times, heard and saw different things from him, and that is why there are هناك أكثر من رواية للموطأ. وهذه الرواية الليثي. Yahya al-Laythi. Alright? طيب. حدثني Yahya, obviously the one who says that Yahya reported to me is Yahya's student. From Malik, from Abdullah ibn Yazid, مولى الأسود بن سفيان, عن أبي سلمة ibn Abdurrahman, who narrated أن أبا هريرة قرأ لهم إذا السماء انشقت. He recited the surah al-Inshiqaq, فَسَجَدَ فِيهَا. And he made prostration after he recited the surah. And what verse? لا يسجدون. طيب. This is the proof that whatever signal or emblem is in the Mus'haf isn't made up. Someone says the Quran was made up, the Mus'haf was made up, they put things that the Prophet didn't put. It's clear that he made sujood in that surah. Clear on this? Alright? فَلَمَّا انصَرَفَ. And then when he finished the salah, he finished the salam, he finished the sajda, أخبرهم أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سجد فيها. He then told them that the Prophet did the exact same thing. Alright, so this is هذا من أساليب التعميم. الفعل ثم يعني دعم الفعل بالدليل. سجد ثم أخبر. He made the sujood, then he said the Prophet did it. And there are times in which you would say the Prophet did this, and then you do it. Clear on this? And the third style is you just tell them what the Prophet did, and you don't physically do it. And the fourth style is you do the act without saying that the Prophet did it. Those are four styles of teaching. Giving the proof first, then the action. Giving the action first, then the proof. Just giving the proof without the action, and you just performing the action, and the learner following his teacher, who learned from 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 this companion. Everybody understand this? Alright, moving forward. Now it says, أخرجه البخاري ومسلم. Obviously this isn't from Malik's speech. This is from the editor, Muhammad Fuad al-Baqi rahimahullah. And this shows us is that this hadith that's in Muwatta Malik was later on collected by Bukhari and Muslim. So Malik as a person and in his book, Muqaddam ala ha'ulā. He came before the two sheikhs, Bukhari and Muslim. And we said this in the first class. Now, that the sciences of hadith didn't begin nor end with Bukhari. We said this, right? And those who wish to attack Bukhari and say things about Bukhari, if you want to win the argument, if you want to destroy the one who's debating with you, don't defend Bukhari. Or just say, go ahead, take Bukhari. You can keep him. He's a fabricator. His book is fabricated. Well, I have that. He's not prepared for that. This professor or this person that you're debating with in the park or this Qur'ani Muslim, quote unquote, he wasn't ready for you to quote Muwatta. He only prepared Bukhari. He only packed enough bullets for one gunfight. He wasn't ready to reload. Everybody understand what I'm trying to say? And that's if you want to win the argument, right? He has everything doubtful about Bukhari. You give him Bukhari, he's going to be shocked. What do you mean you accept and you acknowledge that Bukhari is a fabricator and a liar? He's expecting you, Orthodox Muslims, to say, no, Bukhari is authentic, it's consensus. He's not ready for that. And then boom, you come Malik and Muwatta, a book many years before Bukhari even existed. Now he's baffled now, right? And that's when you sweep his legs and you slam him on the ground. Everybody understand this? Usloob? All right? طيب. Moving forward, next narration. حدثني مالك عن نافع مولى بن عمر أن رجلا من أهل مصر أخبره أن عمر بن الخطاب قرأ سورة الحج فسجد فيها سجدتين ثم قال إن هذه السورة فضلت بسجدتين. Malik from Nafi' from Ibn Umar. Now we can see a very short chain of narration. Malik only has two people, Nafi' Ibn Umar, Prophet's error. Just like that. It's not 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. Boom, boom, bang. Zaman al-Nubuwah. Alright, so Malik's Isnad is Sanad, Ali, Jiddan. It's a very short, compressed chain of narration. Okay? So this man from Egypt came and he told him that Umar ibn al-Khattab recited Surah al-Hajj. And he made the sujood in the surah twice. And he said that this surah was given virtue by Allah. Fuddilat. There's double sajda, double sujood in that surah. Next narration, Malik from Abdullah ibn Dinar. He said, I saw Ibn Umar, yasjudu fi surah al-Hajj sajdatayn. Ibn Umar, he did that. And it shows that Imam Malik, يخرج الآثار الموقوفة ولا يقتصر على الأحاديث المرفوعة فحسب. وإنما يسند ما جاء عن الصحابة وما جاء عن التابعين فيما يتعلق بالأحكام. Malik is going to quote the companions and their followers as well. Next narration, وحدثني عن مالك عن ابن شهاب يعني الزهري عن الأعرج أنه ابن الخطاب قرأ بالنجم إذا هوى. Right? He made sujood ثم قام فقرأ بسورة أخرى and then he recited another surah. Is it permissible to recite 2 surahs in one rak'ah? Is it permissible to do this? Can you recite a surah from this part of the Musaf? Many people, they say, no, you can't. The proof is in the pudding. Nothing more. What the Quran people do, the Quran do, their customs, they have to submit to what's mentioned in the text. Alright? Moving forward, next narration, وحدثني عن مالك عن هشام بن عروة عن أبيه أن عمر بن الخطاب قرأ السجدة وهو على المنبر يوم الجمعة. Umar was giving the khutbah, he was on the minbar. He recited a surah in which it was a sajda. وهو على المنبر يوم الجمعة نزل فسجد. He got down from the minbar and he made sujood on Friday. Have you ever seen someone do that before? If an imam did that, how would the people look at him? A little weird, right? Some people would get the point. Some people have good thoughts of the imam. MashaAllah, he's the imam. He has the knowledge. But most of us will be like, it's a little weird. What are you doing? I've never seen a person do that before. So Umar, he did this. فَسَجَدَ النَّاسُ مَعَهُ. And the people made sujood with him while they were sitting in Jum'ah, behind him. ثُمَّ قَرَأَهَا يَوْمُ الْجُمْعَةِ الْأُخْرَى. And then he did the next thing, the next Jum'ah. فَتَهَيَّ النَّاسُ لِلسُّجُودِ فَقَالَ عَلَى رِسْلِكُمْ. And the people, they began to make sujood, and he said, stay still. Don't move. عَلَى رِسْلِكُمْ. Don't make the sajda. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمْ يَكْتُبْهَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا أَن نَشَاءَ. Is optional. Making the sajda upon hearing it in the Quran is what? Optional. So there's an argument between the scholars concerning ma hukmu sujood al-tilawa. Fard wala mustahab. Is it obligatory or is it only recommended? This clearly proves that Umar's madhab was that it's only recommended. Everybody understand this? So if you're discussing this issue or debating on this issue or writing a paper on this issue, you're going to bring what happened in the time of the Prophet, and you're also going to quote what Umar did, showing that that was his understanding. And Umar is Umar with his knowledge and his fiqh. Everybody clear on this? Inshallah. فَلَمْ يَسْجُدْ وَمَنَعَهُمْ مِنْ يَسْجُدُوا. He didn't make the sujood, and he told the people, do not make sujood. قَالَ مَالِكٌ. Now this is Imam Malik's speech. It is no athar, there's no haddathani, akhbarani. It's Malik's madhab now. This is his speech. And we've stated this is one of the reasons why Malik's book, of course it's a book of hadith, it's up there, but it's not within kutub sitta, because it's highly stocked with what he said, and what he believed, and what he thought, and what he felt, which is a benefit for the reader. Malik said, ليس العمل على أن ينزل الإمام إذا قرأ السجدة على المنبر فيسجد. Listen to this carefully, guys. Listen. Malik says, ليس العمل يعني عند من؟ أهل المدينة. Malik says, the people don't do this. It isn't a practice that's known. It isn't a custom in our lands that the Imam recites the sajda, gets down from the minbar, and makes the sajda. This is what Imam Malik says. And obviously, if you had to pick between what Umar did and what Malik said, a Muslim with any common sense will pick what? We will that check. There's no question about that. Without any disrespect to Imam Malik, without saying anything negative about Imam Malik. But if I had to pick between what Malik says and Umar clearly did, the Khalifa, I'm going to go with what Umar did, radiallahu anhu. Alright, and of course there's detail with regards to Amal Ahl Medina, Malik's madhab. We're not here to talk about none of those things. Alright, ليس الكلام عن المذهب مالك وأصوله. Alright, that's not, none of that is مقصود. I'm just trying to show you how to benefit from the book. قال مالك الأمر عندنا أن عزاء. So therefore, if you wanted to know Malik's madhab concerning this will be the source. Moving forward, Malik also said الأمر عندنا أن عزائم سجود القرآن 11 سجدة. 11 sajdas in the Quran. ليس في المفصل منها شيء. None of those 11 are found in the section of the Mus'haf which is called Mufassal. Where does the Mufassal begin? من أين يبدأ المفصل? Al-Hujurat. All scholars agree on that?
No.
Second opinion?
Qaf.
Qaf. طيب. Is there a third opinion? So the Mufassal begins in either Hujurat or Qaf, ending where? Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. Clear? Why is it called Mufassal?
Many stops.
Because it's a lot kathratul fusul. The ayat are shorter than Baqarah, Al Imran, Al Nisa, Al Ma'idah, Al An'am, Al Araf, Al Anfal, Al Tawbah. It's a fasal, it's a stop, it's a pause, a break. So there's a lot of these different pauses and breaks. This section of the Mus'haf is called Mufassal. How many types of Mufassal are there? You want to roll down? Come on, you can't stop.
2.
Only 2, which are?
Hujurat.
La, that's the starting point. How many types of Mufassal are there? Anybody? Fadda, don't be shy.
6.
Which are?
I'm pretty sure that you're talking about the ones that continue, better to continue.
La, that's a different question. I'm not talking about the Jim and the Sa'd, the stopping. I'm talking about the actual surahs. In other words, everyone stay with me. The Mus'haf, as we have it today, Muqassam, is split up into categories. Surah Al-Fatiha being first. Surah Al-Baqarah is Surah 2. So from Baqarah to what? Is a section.
Juz.
La, not Juz, but keep thinking. Keep thinking. No, not Ma'idah. There are that which is called As-Sab'u At-Tiwa, the 7 long. Baqarah, Al Imran, Nisa, Ma'idah, An'am, Al-A'raf. After the 7 At-Tiwa, the 7 long is the what? What's the next section? We gotta brushing up, we gotta sharpen up on our Uloomul Quran, academic study of the Quran. Alright? What's important is, towards the end of the Mus'haf, is actually called Mufassal. And the Mufassal is generally split into 3 further categories. Tiwal, long Mufassal, middle Mufassal, and at the very end is Qisar al-Mufassal. Clear on this or not? Let's move forward. طيب. قال مالك لا ينبغي لأحد أن يقرأ من سجود القرآن شيئا بعد صلاة الصبح. Another fiqh issue is what is the ruling on reading Surah Al-Hajj, or Surah Al-Sajdah, or Surah Al-A'raf, or Surah Al-Inshiqaq. And obviously Al-Shiqaq is a part of what? Bila shak. Are we clear or not? Madhab is a thing, Malik's opinion is a thing, and the what? The text is a what? Different thing. Clear or not? Moving forward, Malik says, any part of the Quran that contains sujood, one should not read it after Fajr, nor after Asr. And that is because the Prophet ﷺ forbade people from making additional prayer after Fajr until the sun rises, and after Asr until the sun sets. And sajda is a type of salah, it's a type of prayer. فَلَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ أَنْ يَقْرَأَ سَجْدَةً فِي تَيْنِ كَسَاعَتَيْنِ. So that's Malik's opinion. So what is Malik's view? What do the Malikis say concerning reading after Fajr, and which you know you're going to come across sajda? One would say at least makruh to him. It's dislike. You shouldn't do it. And wait until it's time in which you can make additional prayers. Eat time, 15 minutes after sunrise, so on and so forth. Do all scholars say this? No. Is there consensus upon this? No. Do all the Malikis say this? Not necessarily, but this is Malik's view in his book. سئل مالك عمن قرأ سجدة وامرأة حائض تسمع هل لها أن تسجد؟ قال مالك لا يسجد الرجل ولا المرأة إلا وهما طاهران. Malik was also asked about someone who reads the Quran, he comes across the sajda, and there's a woman, ha'il, on her monthly cycle, she's listening to his recitation. Can she make sujood? Malik said no one should make the sujood unless they have purification, unless they're in a state in which they are allowed to pray. So we can see here that the book is heavily laced with what? Min kalam Malik. So this is one of the reasons why it's not a part of Kutub Sitta. Khari to Ibn Majah, حدثنا 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 حدثنا. من حين إلى آخر البخاري يورد آثار الصحابة والسلف الصالح. يذكر وقال الزهري وكان الحسن وقال الحسن وقال فلان. لكن ليس هكذا, right? So this is one of the reasons why. Now, so there's another fiqh issue. Do all scholars say that? Is this the final say? What's important is that's Malik's view. So you have to have wudu when you make sujood al-tilawa, according to Malik, rahimahullah ta'ala. وسئل عن امرأة قرأت سجدة ورجل معها يسمع عليه أن يسجد معها قال مالك ليس عليه أن يسجد معها إنما تجب السجدة على القوم يكونون مع الرجل فيأتمون به. Malik was also asked about a woman who's reciting the Quran, and she passes by sajda, and a man is listening to her recite in the masjid, at home, your mother, your sister, your daughter, your wife, your aunt, your aunt. You're on the side. Do you have to make the sajda when she comes across the sajda? Imam Malik said the only time which is a must is when the people are behind an imam. They're praying behind an imam. He recites the sajda, then they make the sajda. And if that's not the case, outside of the salah, la yalzam, according to Malik. And of course, the scholars, they have an argument and a discussion concerning الفرق بين المستمع وبين السامع. من يستمع إلى التلاوة ومن يسمعها يعني سماعا بلا قصد منه. والله تعالى عالم. خير إن شاء الله تعالى. And that's the end of that. What's important is this is a selection from his book. Of course, Muwatta is in English. Alhamdulillah, I believe there's more than one translation. You can read it yourselves. You should read it yourselves. And the only thing that's going to happen to you when you read this book and other books as a Muslim is become a better Muslim. Inshallah. If you're a student of knowledge, if you're a layman, 9 to 5 Muslim, it's only going to get you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being busy with dhikr. Wallahu ta'ala. Alright, that's moving forward tonight. Inshallah, our guy, inshallah, Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, the Imam of Ahl Hadith of his time. Here, we're going to read from Wikipedia briefly, in English, or in Arabic briefly, and then inshallah ta'ala we'll move forward to the English, and then perhaps we'll read from Siyar al-Nubala with regards to some fawaid concerning Imam Ahmad's life. Alright. Our next reader. Alish? Kitab? Jazakallah khairan. Who's our next reader tonight? Shukran. Muwatta Malik. Yusuf. Bismillah. No, not from the book, from the screen. Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Is it large enough for you?
Yeah.
Alright, Bismillah.
Abu Abdullah Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal الذهلي الشيباني
الذهلي
الشيباني
فقيه
ومحدث مسلم، ورابع الأئمة الأربعة عند أهل السنة والجماعة، وصاحب المذهب الحنبلي في الفقه الإسلامي. اشتهر بعلمه الغزير وحفظه القوي، وكان معروفا بالأخلاق الحسنة كالصبر والتواضع والتسامح. وقد أثنى عليه كثير من العلماء منهم الإمام الشافعي بقوله: خرجت من بغداد وما خلفت بها أحدا أروع ولا أتقى ولا أفقه من أحمد بن حنبل. ويعد كتابه المسند من أشهر كتب الحديث وأوسعها.
Jazakallah khairan. So, his first name is Ahmad, and he isn't the son of Hanbal. وَإِنَّمَا نُسِبَ إِلَى جَدِّهِ. He's been attributed to his grandfather. His father's name isn't Hanbal. His father is Muhammad. Al-Dhuhli. Like Muhammad ibn Yahya. Al-Dhuhli. Where does that come from? That nisbah. Dhuhli. Al-Shaybani. What tribe, what clan? He was born 164 of the Hijrah, and he died 241 of the Hijrah. So he died before Bukhari, and obviously after marriage. Faqih wa muhaddith. He had the best of both worlds. He had knowledge of fiqh, and he had knowledge of hadith. He wasn't just a hadith scholar. The best of both worlds. 1-2 punch. You can knock you out with either of his two hands. Alright, the best boxers are those who have enough power in the right and in the left. Alright? He is the fourth of the four Imams according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And he's the author of Al-Madhhab al-Hanbali concerning Islamic jurisprudence. اشتهر بعلمه الغزير الكثير العميق. He was well known, famous, infamous for having so much knowledge of the deen. وحفظه القوي. And having an extraterrestrial power of memory, the ability to memorize and to soak up as if he was from another planet or something. His memory was uncanny, it was unreal, it was extremely strong. وَكَانَ مَعْرُوفًا بِالْأَخْلَاقِ الْحَسَنَةِ. And despite his knowledge, despite his power of memory, despite how talented he was a very well-behaved Muslim. He had a great deal of patience. He was very humble and low to the ground. And he was very forgiving. He wasn't scornful and vengeful. He didn't hold things in his chest. He didn't smile and give a hug and say, I'll make up. But deep down inside, you're passively aggressive, like us. I forgive you. You tell your wife, but you hold it over her head. Your wife says, it's okay, I forgive you, I love you. And she holds it over your head for 10, 20, 30 years. Never lets it go. Something happens in the match, we say, khalas, malish. But deep down inside, there's something I have in my chest against you. Tasamuh, khalas, it's done, it's over. Bismillah, you made a mistake, I made a mistake. Life is too short to get stuck on grudges. وَقَدْ أَثْنَى عَلَيْهِ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Many great scholars, they spoke well of Imam Ahmad, spoke highly of him. From them, not the only one, is the Shafi'i rahimahullah. خرجت من بغداد وما خلفت بها أحدا أورع ولا أفقه من أحمد بن حنبل. Shafi'i said, I left Baghdad and there's no one that can succeed me who's more pious, more knowledgeable, more righteous, has a greater understanding than this man Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And of course, Imam Ahmad is nothing else of praise. Yakfihi, sharafan. And there are countless people before Shafi'i, whatever, after Shafi'i, who spoke well of him. But if that was the only thing that he had, that would be sufficient. So anyone who claims to be Shafi'i and loves Shafi'i is supposed to show a great deal of respect to Imam Ahmad. And if not, then you are a dutiful disciple of your Imam. طيب فضل. ولد أحمد بن حنبل.
ولد أحمد بن حنبل سنة 164 هجريا في بغداد، ونشأ فيها يتيما. قد كانت بغداد في ذلك العصر حاضرة العالم الإسلامي، تزخر بأنواع المعارف والفنون المختلفة، وكانت أسرة أحمد بن حنبل توجهه إلى طلب العلم. وفي سنة 179 هجريا بدأ ابن حنبل يتجه إلى الحديث النبوي، فبدأ يطلبه في بغداد عند شيخه هشيم بن بشير الواسطي حتى توفي سنة 183 هجريا.
طيب Imam Ahmad 164 he was born. So he was born in the second half of the what? Second century. The second half of the second century, not the third. 164. He was born in Baghdad and he was an orphan. Similar to who? Huh? And the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, ahsantum. Similar to who? Imam al-Bukhari. Imam al-Bukhari. طيب, who else was an orphan? Anybody else? What are some of the benefits of being an orphan? Why did Allah choose to make His prophet an orphan? Alright, moving forward. Obviously, Baghdad at that time was the center of Islamic civilization. According to the Uloom, it was called the Mecca of Islamic sciences. Anyone was from there, traveled there, relocated, dakhal al-kharaj, rahil. No, if you weren't in Baghdad, you didn't go to Baghdad, you had the ability to, then you weren't making any noise. That was the center of everything. That was the hub of everything. So he was born in this city. He was born in this metropolis. So the article here, it starts talking about how he began to seek knowledge, how he started seeking knowledge. 164 he was born. He started seeking knowledge in 179. So how old was he? 15. He was a young man. Alright, and he started Bada ibn Hanbal. Bada ibn Hanbal يتجه إلى الحديث النبوي, and he was a hadith disciple from day one. From day one. Alright, he started learning hadith from day one. Then it says, واشتهر ابن حنبل بصبره على المهنة التي وقعت به والتي عرفت باسم فتنة خلق القرآن. وهي فتنة وقعت في العصر العباسي في عهد الخليفة المأمون ثم المعتصم والواثق من بعده. إذا اعتقد هؤلاء الخلفاء أن القرآن مخلوق محدث وهو رأي المعتزلة، ولكن ابن حنبل وغيره من العلماء خالفوا ذلك، فحبس ابن حنبل وعذب ثم أخرج من السجن وعاد إلى التحديث والتدريس. وفي عهد الواثق منع من الاجتماع بالناس، فلما تولى المتوكل الحكم أنهى تلك الفتنة إنهاء كاملا. وفي شهر ربيع الأول إلى آخره. So Imam Ahmad was well known for having very, very thick skin. Very thick skin. He had a great deal of sabr. And that was manifested in one of his trials, which was known as Al-Mihna, or Fitnatul Khalq al-Quran, in which the leaders of the Abbasid Caliphate, they were poisoned. They were influenced by some evil scholars, really, really evil scholars. They were evil. And from the evil of these scholars, not only were they worldly, the scholar being extremely close to the ruler, who's in whose back pocket? This is a serious question. Is the scholar in the ruler's back pocket? Or is the ruler in the scholar's back pocket? Allahu Alam. In which they're extremely intimately close. For sure. Somehow, some way, someone is going to pull or push someone. A sahib? Sahib. Labud. So these scholars were already worldly by being so close to the rulers like that. Let alone they were evil because of what they were saying. And they had a way of believing in aqidah which was false. And that was aqidah to the i'tizal. The aqidah of Wasil ibn Ata, who lived during the time of Hassan al-Basri. And he went to Hassan al-Basri and he asked him, يعني سأله عن أوصاف الموحدين. هل هم يخلدون في النار? Sinful Muslims, when they die, will they be in hell forever? Will they go to hell forever? the drunkard, the one who beats his wife up, abuses his wife, the thief, the prostitute, the pimp, a sinful Muslim who dies upon sin, major sins, will they go to hell forever? And Hassan al-Basri, rahimahullah, from the Tabi'een, the students of the Sahaba, he said, no. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. Allah forgives whatever He will, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hum tahta al-Mashi'ah. Allah could punish them, and Allah could forgive them. And if they are punished, they will not be in hell forever. They will come out eventually, immediately. Or eventually, not immediately. That's the aqeedah of Quran and Sunnah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ. Oh, so Allah forgives all sins besides shirk akbar and hereafter. So the man qama fa'atazala majlis al-Hasan. اعتزل مجلس الحسن فسمي أتباعه معتزلة. He withdrew from Hassan. He didn't like the answer. He had his own desire in his heart, in his mind, what he thought was correct, and he boycotted Hassan al-Basri. And then he made his own group, his own clique, his own band. People started following him, and they brought up 5 major points of aqeedah, which كلها مخالفة للكتاب والسنة. Alright? Concerning Allah's attributes, concerning al-qada wal-qadar, so on and so forth. And from that, they began to say that the Quran, the speech of Allah, is a created being. It's makhluk, it's created. And it isn't an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not His kalam. Allah is not created, His attributes are not created. And that's just basic common sense. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. كيف الرسول يستعيذ بمخلوق. So the moral of the story is that these people, these theologians, these philosophers, they strayed from the path. And they began to develop and to synthesize their madhab of aqidah, which was against Quran and Sunnah, and which was against the consensus of the Sahaba and the Salaf al-Salih. Their aqidah, it was a bogus aqidah. But they became close to the ruler, and they poisoned the ruler, and they whispered to the ruler, and they forced the ruler to adopt their opinions. And the rulers therefore used force. Any scholar who disagrees with us, hang him, beat him, whip him, lock him up, throw away the key. And from that, of course, was Imam Ahmad. There's no way they could miss him. He was the most famous, most popular. So they forced him, say that the Quran is created. And Imam Ahmad said, no, of course not. Of course I can't say that. That's false. And they debated with him, they argued with him, they brought their evil scholars, the rulers, and Imam Ahmad defeated all of them. Simply and easily. And then obviously the knowledge-based argument, it failed, and it was time for the political argument, and that was by force. So they beat him, they whipped him, they chained him, they locked him up, from prison to prison, jail to jail. And obviously we're not talking about jail today, which is hard, but we're talking about a dungeon. A dungeon. There were no human rights. You don't have no lawyer. There's no visitation. There is no, this and this. A dungeon. So many people, they died, they perished, they rotted in those dungeons. And Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah ta'ala, he remained firm. And there were some scholars, ترخصوا قال بخلق القرآن تقية يعني مكره يعني خلاص إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان. قالوا نعم القرآن مخلوق في الظاهر. Many of those Imams, they believed that it was permissible to answer, to give the answer, to support the rulers, to say that the Quran was created even though they didn't believe it. But Imam Ahmad لم يرى جواز الترخص في هذا أبدا. He said that no, you cannot take that concession. You cannot say that you're forced. You must sacrifice your neck for the truth here. If they whip you, if they kill you, they hang you, they decapitate you, you must say that the Quran laysa bi makhluq. So many Imams, they either took the concession to make a statement of kufr out of coercion and compulsion, and those who rode with him, they died. They couldn't survive. And some people say that the deen would have been lost, and the correct aqidah of Islam would have been lost, lawla Ahmad bin Hanbal. And in many different stories, when he was whipped, his shoulders were dislocated from them hanging him up and stretching him out. And there's one narration, and many different narrations, and Imam Ahmad, he said, I'm not worried about la akhaf al-habs. Okay, he says, walakin akhaf al-sawt. He says, one thing that I'm afraid of, and he says, and that's the whip. I'm scared and I'm afraid that if I'm whipped, I'll give in because of the excruciating pain. Alright? And obviously in the United States, we know a long history about the physical and psychological damage of whipping someone. And whipping someone in such a vicious, evil manner, sadistic manner, in which their flesh is ripped open and sliced open. And if you read your history, you know that there were many people that were whipped, whether they were slaves or other than slaves, and the master was so sadistic that after they were whipped and their back was ripped open, cut open, their chest was cut open from the lashing of the whip, they would pour salt and vinegar and pepper into their wounds. So just imagine the damage that's going to do to your mind. You're going to talk. Someone captures you, your enemy captures you. I don't know anything. They punch you, they beat you up, you remain tough. But the whip comes out. Your human nature may what? May overcome you. So Imam Ahmad, he said he was scared of that. So one narration states that Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah ta'ala, as he was hung up, as they were stringing him up, his pants fell loose. And his aura was about to be exposed. And this narration is well known, mentioned. They say that Allah Azza wa Jalla akramahu, a'tahu karama. He gave him a miracle. And his izar, his pants, they miraculously came back up. And which his aura, lam tankashif awratu amam an-nas. That his aura was never exposed. And that Allah Azza wa Jalla never shamed him in front of the people by having his aura exposed. That's ultimate humiliation. Is to make someone naked. As we see on television, on YouTube. They had those people, those Muslims, sitting there, handcuffed, blindfolded, naked in the cold. May Allah curse them. I mean, horrible, terrible liars. Why are these people sitting here like this? Well, what did the guy say? Well, first of all, you know, in the Middle East, it's not that cold outside. And people accept this. It's not that cold in the Middle East. Is it not winter in Palestine? And who determines how cold or how hot it is? What if this person has arthritis? What if this person is sick? What if this person is ill? Do you see people walking down the street in Israel with no shirts on? How stupid are you? And most importantly, how stupid do you believe the listeners and the watchers are? And the answer is clear. You believe that they're very stupid. And those who aren't stupid are too scared to say something. How can you do an interview in 2024? They're asked about these Palestinians who are detained, blindfolded, hands tied behind their backs, sitting in their underpants. And you say, in the Middle East, it's not that cold outside. La ilaha illallah. Tayyib, you had to search them because they may have weapons. They may have vests in which they have explosive devices. All right, no problem. You frisked them, metal detected, did you have to strip them naked? For argument's sake, they're so dangerous, we had to strip them naked. Why are they being hauled off on the truck and they're still naked? Put their clothes back on. We frisked them, we used the metal detector, they don't have no weapons. Why are they being humiliated like this? This is very sad and it's very unfortunate, alright? And then, of course, if none of that works, he said, well, it wasn't the IDF who recorded the video. Okay, the IDF didn't make the video. Is it accurate footage or not? So the concept of humiliating a human being and stripping a human being naked, and of course, I don't want to say too much or go too far off the subject, but it is painful. It does hurt. The state in which we're in, and our brothers are in over there, may Allah help them. How can we as Muslims look towards America to help out? How can we as Muslims look for America to put a stop to this injustice when America did the same thing in Iraq? When that scandal came out, when they were sexually abusing those prisoners in Iraq, stripping them bare, forcing men to masturbate in front of each other. What do you think they're going to say? Hey, that's inhumane. That's against the Geneva Convention. That's unnecessary. You think they're going to put a stop to it? Look how they behaved. You think that was just an isolated situation in Abu Ghraib? That was what reached the cameras. That was the CDs that they found. Let alone the CDs that they didn't find of people humiliating Muslims and knowing that a Muslim An Arab Muslim in general, I'm talking about Arab Muslims right now, the ultimate thing is shame and dishonor. And what could be more shameful and dishonorable than your nakedness being shown to everyone? They knew this. So Imam Ahmad, he said his outer was going to be exposed. And Allah, as we would say, magically, his pants, they rose right back up. And Allah protected his outer from being exposed. His back was bare, but his outer wasn't exposed. And the moral of the story is karamat al-awliya. The righteous people, the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the wali of Allah will be protected. And we, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we believe in these miracles. It's not fake. It's not some made up Sufi stuff. It's real. Right? Wallahu ta'ala. Tayyib. Imam Ahmad, no going to talk about that any further. Nisbatuhu wa suratuhu huwa Abu Abdullah. We mentioned his name. Ummuhu Safiya bint Maymuna. His mother's name was Safiya. His mother was named Safiya. Okay? أن أحمد بن حنبل من أهل العراق عربي النسب فهو ذهلي في نسبه لأبيه وشيباني في نسبه لأمه وشيبان وذهل أخوان من بني بكر بن وائل إحدى قبائل ربيعة العدنانية. Alright, so Imam Ahmad's lineage, him being Dhuhli is from his father, and him being Shaybani is from his mother. These two tribes, these two clans, Shayban and Dhuhl, they are descendants of another clan, the Banu Bakr ibn Wa'il clan. They go back to Adnan. And obviously Adnan goes back to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and the original true Arabs. Qahtan, Adnan, the original true Arabs, way back. Alright. How where he came from, so on and so forth. Mawliduhu and Ash'atuhu, when he was born, how he was raised, we covered that. Azwajuhu wa awladuhu. Fadl Yusuf, لم يتزوج.
لم يتزوج أحمد بن حنبل إلا بعد أن بلغ 40. وقيل إن ذلك كان بسبب اشتغاله بالعلم، أو لأن أمه كانت موجودة بجواره ترعى شؤونه، أو لأنه كان يكثر من الرحلات وتطول غيبته عن بلده. فلما أن بلغ 40 وأصبح أقرب إلى الاستقرار من ذي قبل فكر في الزواج. وقد قال ابن الجوزي في ذلك: كان رضي الله عنه شديد الإقبال على العلم، سافر في طلبه السفر البعيد.
So Imam Ahmad, when did he get married? How many children did he have? Many say is that Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, he only got married until after he was 40, because he was so busy with knowledge. That was his first true wife, knowledge, ilm. He was devoted to knowledge. He didn't have any time to look after a woman, so on and so forth. Then it says how he sought knowledge. Baghdad. Okay, where did he go? It says, فَرَحِلَ إِلَى الْعِرَاقِ وَإِلَى الْحِجَازِ وَإِلَى تُهَامَ وَإِلَى الْيَمَنِ. So he went to these different areas. He went to other parts of Iraq. He went to Hijaz, Mecca, Medina, Ta'if, Jeddah. He went to Tihama. Okay. He went to Yemen, these different regions, all in search of knowledge. Rahimahullah ta'ala. وَرِحْلَةُ إِلَى مَا وَرَاءَ النَّهْرِ. We mentioned this last class, or the class before. مَا الْمَقْصُودُ بِمَا وَرَاءَ النَّهْرِ. What's meant by behind the river? Okay, when did he start teaching, so on and so forth? All right, let's move forward. Let's have another reader, please. Read from English. Inshallah ta'ala. Bismillah. تفضل.
أحمد ابن محمد ابن حنبل ابن هلال ابن أسد ابن إدريس ابن عبد الله ابن حيان أبو عبد الله الشيباني الدهلي November 780.
You can move forward past the dates.
Better known as Ahmad ibn Hanbal, was a Sunni Muslim scholar, jurist, theologian, traditional theologian, traditionalists.
Move forward. Having studied jurisprudence and narrations of the many teachers on his youth, Ahmad became famous in his later life for the crucial role he played in the Inquisition, Mihna, instituted by the Abbasid Caliph al-Ma'mun. And طبعا يعني للفائدة كثيرا من المذاهب المنتشرة المشهورة في العالم الإسلامي اليوم إنما هي فروع لمذهب الاعتزال في العقيدة، وهي وليدة تلك المذهب الفاسد. فليتنبه لهذا. It's just a brief off the line fact that many of these different aqidas that are widespread in Islam today, the Islamic world, that people say are the orthodox or the majority or Sawad al-A'zam, consider they all are children of the Mu'tazila school. They all were birthed, spawned by the I'tizal movement. So that's food for thought. I'm not going to say anything more than that. We don't need to mention any names, anything more than that, but it's very dangerous. All right, so talk about, it says here, the older Hanbali authorities had doctrinal concerns very different from those of the Wahhabis due to the medieval Hanbali literature being rich in reference to saints, grave visitation, miracles, and relics. In this connection, scholars have cited Ahmad's own support for the use of relics as one of several important points on which the theologians' positions diverge, etc. Is that true? What do we believe concerning saints, awliya? Do we worship them? Do we respect them? Do we venerate them, honor them? Right? Biography, early life and family, education and work, Inquisition, when did he die, views and thought, theology, Quran, taqleed, intercession, shafa'ah, tasawwuf, mysticism, relics, athar salihin, fiqh, jurisprudence, independent reasoning by muftis, ijtihad, abusing ahadith, alright, ta'weel, adab, everything is here in this English version. Alright, so before we stop, we want to read from one more source. I'm not sure if the link is in the email, but I'm going to read from Siyar Alam al-Nubala from the 18th, the 11th volume, F1. قال الزعفراني قال للشافعي ما رأيت أعقل من أحمد وسليمان بن داود الهاشمي. قال محمد بن إسحاق بن راهويه حدثني أبي قال لي أحمد بن حنبل تعال حتى أريك من لم يرى أو يرى مثله. فذهب إلى الشافعي قال أبي وما مع الشافعي مثل أحمد بن حنبل ولولا أحمد بذل نفسه لذهب الإسلام يريد المحنة. وروي عن إسحاق بن راهويه قال أحمد حجة بين الله وبين خلقه. وقال محمد بن عبدوية سمعت علي بن المديني يقول أحمد أفضل عندي من سعيد بن جبير في زمانه لأن سعيدا كان له نظراء. وعن ابن المديني قال أعز الله الدين بالصديق يوم الردة وبأحمد يوم المحنة. وقال أبو عبيد انتهى العلم إلى 4 أحمد بن حنبل هو أفقههم وذكر الحكاية. وقال أبو عبيد إني لأتدين بذكر أحمد ما رأيت رجلا أعلم بالسنة منه. وقال الحسن بن الربيع ما شبهت أحمد بن حنبل إلا بابن المبارك في سمته وهيئته. So al-Dhahabi, he talks about Imam Ahmad's the praise that they made for him, his accolades, all that he was known for and respected for, and how they said how he imitated and resembled many great giants of the past, many of the Tabi'een, alright, and how he stood firm during the Inquisition, and how Imam Ahmad did not respond, he did not answer. He did not give in to what they were trying to force him to give into by saying that the Quran was created. And that the Quran is not created. It is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and is one of Allah's attributes. Inshallah ta'ala, those who read Arabic, you can return back to that volume, Al-Juz al-Hadi Ashar. And you can also read more about his akhlaq as well in English. ومن أدابه قال عبد الله بن أحمد رأيت أبي يأخذ شعرة من شعر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيضعها على فيه يقبلها وأحسب أني رأيته يضعها على عينيه ويغمسها في الماء ويشربه يستشفي به. One narration says that Imam Ahmad would take some hair that he had from the Prophet ﷺ. And once again, when people talk about relics, something that's an actual relic of the Prophet versus something which isn't confirmed to being a relic. Someone believing that this relic was attached to the Prophet, it was on the Prophet's body, it has barakah on it, versus a person making shirk and believing that the thing itself cures and heals. So many people in English and Arabic, they mix oranges and apples. Right? So relics, saints, these things, there is a place for them and then there isn't a place for them. Alright? So Imam Ahmad, he had some of the Prophet's hair. And he would put the hair, he would kiss the Prophet's hair. And he would put the hair on his eyes. And he would put the hair in water and drink the water. And he would seek the shifa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the barakah of the Prophet's physical hair. ورأيته أخذ قصعة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فغسلها في حب الماء ثم شرب فيها. ورأيته جزاك الله خيرا. طيب. I was wondering, like, what's going on? Is it me moving it, or is it some type of set on the computer? Thanks for letting me know. I'm like, what's going on? Right, inshallah. Alright, let's see how much time we have left. I wanted to read some things with regards to Imam Ahmad's specific description. What did Imam Ahmad look like? How tall was he? What did he dress like? So on and so forth. Hajib ibn al-Walid, Yahya or Abu Tamam. Then there's Yahya ibn Ma'in, Murattab ala tabaqat. Abu Ma'mar al-Hudali, Yahya ibn Ma'in. That's a long story concerning him. May Allah have mercy upon his soul. Al-Utbi. طيب, before we start, inshallah, we'll close soon. We've been reading for a while, I know. ومن سيرته, Imam Ahmad's life story, his seerah, his akhlaq, ثناء أهل العلم عليه, how the people praised him. ومن كرمه, how generous Imam Ahmad was. He wasn't just all talk, but he was a man of actual deeds and actions. قال أبو عبد الله قلت طيب خير inshallah. We'll stop here tonight. Obviously, Imam Ahmad's biography, it could take an entire series of classes, and we still wouldn't reach the bottom. We still wouldn't reach the end, and we still wouldn't give this Imam his haqq, his due right, what he deserves. Alright, I'll show you the exact page for those of us to read more about him, inshallah, and see Ahmad bin Hanbal ibn Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Khalid al-Baghdadi. 5, 3, 1. Ahmad ibn Khalid. طيب خلاص يكفي ده. That's more than enough for now, inshallah ta'ala. Last thing I will mention, طيب خير, we won't start nothing else. That's enough. Alhamdulillah. If there are any questions or comments on the lecture, then we'll take them now, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And if not, jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much for your participation, for your reading. Inshallah. Tfadal, you guys can cut the lights on if you like, bi'idhnillah. Tfadal.
Like,
they're saying the Quran يعني القرآن خلق يعني مش كلام الله يعني الرسول هو اللي خلقه يعني بنفسه.
طيب لا يقولون الله خلق القرآن.
الله خلق القرآن.
يقولون الله خالق كل شيء وكل يشمل القرآن على حسب يعني زعمهم. فيقولون أن القرآن مخلوق من مخلوقات الله. هكذا اعتقادهم.
يعني هي مش كلام الله يعني الله.
طبعا
هي كلام الله.
مخلوق. So كان كلامه أنه هو مخلوق من مثلك بشر مخلوق.
So like the argument is pointless. It's the word of Allah and it's something that like I'm confused how they're saying it's a creation but it's not speech. How is that possible at the same time?
It's a creation, but it isn't a speech. طيب. So if the Quran is the speech of Allah, طبعا Allah's kalam is his sifa, his description, and Allah Azza wa Jalla is the creator of the heavens and the earth. He's not created, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's lam yalid wa lam yulad. And the same applies to all of Allah's attributes and his qualities. Allah's mercy, Allah's knowledge, al-hayyul qayyum. None of that is created. Ta'ala Allahu an dhalika, uluwan kabiran. And from that is that Allah Azza wa Jalla, فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ. يسمع ايش؟ الرسول يتلو عليه ايش؟ القرآن. يتلو عليه القرآن. So what the Prophet ﷺ brought to the people was the Quran, was the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're saying that the Quran is a created being. It isn't Allah's speech. It isn't his attribute. It isn't his quality. And obviously that's clearly blasphemous. It's clearly blasphemous, heretical.
Whose quality would it be then?
It's something that Allah made to guide the people. That's it. It's something that Allah created, like me, like you, like the heavens, the earth, the mountains. Allah brought into existence, and then that's it. And that's clearly blasphemous, extremely blasphemous, and extremely problematic from so many different aspects. And as we explained, these people, it wasn't the only thing that they were saying and doing that was wrong. There were many other points of Islam and the Iman of Islam in which they were rejecting and distorting and twisting and warping.
Was there a way to make it weaker? Or to be able to twist things and to make it...
Of course. Anything that you take away from what belongs to the Quran devalues the Quran. There's no question about that. This is the speech of Allah, the word of God. Versus, it's a book, it's special, it's guidance, but it isn't the word of God. It's night and day between the two. Night and day, understand? Wallahu ta'ala alam. Tafadal.
What is some practical ways that we can, or things that we can take home to practice in our daily lives out of this biography of Imam Hanbal?
The biography of Imam Ahmad, there are many practical benefits. As we've stated before, is that whoever man salaka tariqan yaltamisu fihi ilma, that whoever treads a path on which he seeks knowledge, سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Allah will make it easy for you to go to paradise. So if you're seeking knowledge, you're going to be harmed. You're going to be annoyed. People are going to say things about you. There's going to be physical harm. People are going to threaten you. So knowledge isn't for the weak-hearted people. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to have thick skin. You have to have sabr. And from that is Imam Ahmad. But all of those different evil rulers and evil scholars and people, who knows them now? Everybody knows Imam Ahmad. Who won in the end? Well, Aqibah. So this is a lesson that we should learn. Is that you, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, Allah will support you over people who say bad things about you. And people who wish to do you harm. Right? And this is one of the most important lessons for a student of knowledge, is that you have to be patient. And you can't think and feel that everyone's going to like you and agree with you. Someone is going to say something bad about you. There's going to be a hater. There's going to be a detractor. There's going to be a naysayer. And you have to be convinced with your mission. Understand? And there are other lessons. Like I said, there isn't enough time. With regards to Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah ta'ala, there were some things that I want to mention. All right? And then don't think I have an agenda. But at the same time, I do have an agenda. And from the things that plague the Muslims today is racism. and nationalism and tribalism and colorism. And Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, this great Imam, kana asmar alone shadid as-sumra. Say Imam Ahmad had very dark skin. Very dark skin. Alright, so this is something that plagues the people today: race, tribe, nation, and pigmentation of skin. So if I'm black, I automatically feel inferior to you because you're from Yemen. And if you're from Yemen and this is the color of your skin, you feel superior to me. And both the inferior and the superiority, the complex, is harmful to both. The inferiority complex will force me to stunt and to retard my talent and my growth. Because I can't be but so good. At best, you memorize a few hadiths, you can translate, and that's it. It's khalas. Don't have ambitions beyond that. And then the one who's fair skinned or dark skinned, but he's from a different country, he thinks because he's from Yemen, or I'm from this country, I don't have to study as hard. I don't have to apply myself. I got it made, and obviously that's clearly harmful. So the inferiority and the superiority complex is harmful, and we find that in the Muslim countries, unfortunately. So many people today, obviously I want to open up a can of worms. The moral of the story is, the Imams of Hadith, as we explained, they weren't bound by these different worldly things. Birth, lineage, color of your skin. Many of them were descendants of Moali, as we said. Shalom that. They were descendants of slaves. Parties, this, that. So knowledge is for all. And the same applies to sex and gender. A sister wants to study Islam. She wants to learn, but her husband, her father says, you're a woman. You're wasting your time. It isn't but so far you can go. No one's going to listen to you. No one's going to take you serious. And obviously you keep hearing these things and you start having this negative, doubtful thought of yourself. That's a very tangible thing we can learn from these biographies. Is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives His virtue to whom He wills. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives the dunya to whom He loves and to those whom He utterly hates. But He only gives His guidance, His mercy and knowledge and piety to those whom He loves. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the walis of Allah, they don't come in colors or countries or heights, weights. I'm skinny, you're big. None of that matters. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is what you believe about Allah and how you behave concerning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ana inda dhanni abdi bi. Allah says that I'm as my slave thinks of me. Ana inda dhanni abdi bi. As my slave thinks of me, that's how I am. So Allah can't bless me because I'm from this country. Allah will bless me just because I'm from this country. Allah can't bless me because I'm a woman. Allah will bless me because I'm a woman. You've lost the game already. فَإِنَّ هَذَا وَاللَّهُ تَعَالَى. And there are many, many more as well. And the last thing we learned from this biography is that fame and infamy doesn't mean that a person has bad intentions and that a person is showing off. And Muhammad was a living legend. During his time, he was a living legend. Not afterwards. So everyone knew. Fame or infamy, one of the two. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, He blesses the servant with these things. And He said, بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَ الْقَوْمِ يَوْمَ الْجَنَائِزِ. Or al-janaiz. He says, between us and them is the funeral. How many people are coming to my funeral? And how many people are coming to your funeral? And what is the nature of the people coming to your funeral? You ever go to a janazah, someone righteous, and there's so many righteous Muslims there, making dua, praying, crying, sad? That means something. That speaks volumes of how this person lived. Versus another person who has a janazah, it's not that many people, and the people there are, adi, general Muslims, family members. That speaks volumes. Wallahu ta'ala. Wayakum. Okay, inshallah, no more questions. We'll stop here tonight. Fadal, bismillah.
Imam Ahmad, did he do sajda in smaller surah like Surah Iqra?
قول مالك. قال ليس في السجدة ايش؟ ليس نعيد. Let's go back. حتى نقرأ. Go back to the water, please. It's there. معلش. طيب صفحة كام يا حافظ؟ طيب ما شاء الله عليكم. أحلى تثبت ما شاء الله. طيب 205. Let's go back. 205 ها؟ طيب باب ما جاء في سجود القرآن. نعم. قال مالك. It's right here. الأمر عندنا نحن ليس محل إجماع، محل اتفاق. عندنا مذهبنا في المدينة في الحجاز، عند موافقين، انتبه للكلام، أن عزائم يعني مواضع السجود، سجود التلاوة في القرآن 11 سجدة، ليس في المفصل منها شيء. هل تراجع عن هذا؟ هل هذا الكلام تتم شرح؟ المهم هو ذا حاليا، صح؟ والله تعالى أعلم. And obviously the scholars طبعا عزائم السجود, as we said, when do you have to make sajda? Do you have to make sajda? So is Imam Malik saying that there's no sajda in Iqra, or azaim in which you have to do it? Obviously, the mark of making sajda in Surah Al-Iqra is the same as the other ayat. What's the first sajda in the Mus'haf? Huh? The first sajda in the Mus'haf. I can't hear you.
The surah after Tawbah.
Huh?
The surah
Abu Yusuf. Huh? Al-Hajj. Nothing before Hajj? Alright, you guys, we want to focus on the young guys, you guys. MashaAllah, you have no gray in your beard, Akhi. Allahumma barik alayk. You as well. The black beards, the red beards, you guys are young, fresh. You should know this info. Khair, inshallah. Next question. Any other questions? Fadal. Barakallahu feekum.
Should we place in salah the hands above the navel, below the navel, or on our chest?
Should we place our hands above, below, the navel, on the chest, etc.? It's all optional. Optional. Do what you feel the most comfortable in doing. Inshallah ta'ala. Where are the hands placed? That's a very long discussion. What's important is that for sure I say, the hands should be folded. No doubt about that. Praying with the hands by one side, my humble opinion, isn't an option of discussion. It's not an option of discussion. It's not something which is a strong difference to regard. So the hand, the right should be on the left. La shak fi dhalik. But where? On the navel, beneath the navel, solar plex, chest, here, inshallah, optional. And the reason why it's optional is because there are many different narrations concerning that issue. Some are authentic, some aren't. Some of those practices are proven by the Sahaba and the Tabi'een. Ibn Umar did this, Atta did that, right? Al-amru fi dhalik wasi', inshallah ta'ala. What's important is where you choose to put your hands, do not criticize the next person. And do not base your practice and your da'wah off of these masail, the khilafiyya, ijtihadiyya. هذا الغلط الآن. أنا أؤسس دعوتي ومذهبي وحركتي على مسائل اجتهادية خلافية, right? In which you no longer speak to him because he goes a little lower than here. That's wrong. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Fadal. Sufyan.
What is the ruling on shortening the salat, like when traveling?
What is the ruling on shortening the salat when we travel?
Like the distance and stuff.
What requires shortening? Understood. Well, the first part of the question, even if that wasn't part of your question, is it obligatory? هل يجب القصر حال السفر ولا من الرخص؟ عزيمة ولا رخصة؟ على قولين لأهل العلم في ذلك. الذي يترجح عندي القول بالوجوب. Right? I believe that it's obligatory to shorten the prayer when you travel. That's the view that I adopt. There are two views from the ulama of Islam. Some say that it is a must, and that when you're traveling, that is the number of rak'at for traveling. 2. It isn't you short. That's the fault. And others say that it's optional, and if you choose to shorten, you can shorten, regardless of combining. As far as what determines traveling, then I would tell you is that it isn't based off of mileage. It's not based off of mileage. but it's based off of the condition and what's known and what is accepted by the people that you are traveling. Many scholars, if not most, hold the view is that it is muqaddam bi masafa, is that it's based off of distance, and that distance is approximately 50 miles. 50 miles of you being on the road outside of your country. My humble opinion, with all respect to that view, is that has a clear difficulty. So right now, if you leave Bayonne, you have to drive, according to that view, 50 miles before you're allowed to break your fast, shorten your prayer, combine your prayer. Where would you be after 50 miles of driving? Far or close? Close after 50 miles? Why, 50 miles? That's at least a what? An hour driving? Versus, I left Bayonne and I'm heading to New York City, Staten Island. Is that traveling or not? Are you paying the toll? Are you getting on a major bridge? If you accuse a New Yorker, aren't you from New Jersey? Aren't you from Bayonne? What type of offense would he take? And if you choose someone from New Jersey being from New York, what offense would they? Clearly proving that Bayonne and Staten Island are two different what? No question about that. There's no doubt about that. They're two different places, and you are traveling the jurisdiction of the police. You get pulled over. You run into some trouble. You get in a crime. You're just across the bridge. New York City police officer pulled me over. Whose jurisdiction are they want to judge you with? Which of the two? New Jersey or New York? Come on, guys. Huh? New York. But Bayonne is what? It's right there. You tell the officer, you can't have this, whether it's an issue with insurance, a license to carry, a firearm, whatever the case may be. You're going to argue with the state trooper. You're going to argue with the police officer. Officer, my house is right there. And if he feels like giving you trouble because of your race or religion or whatever, he's going to say, you're coming with me. Right now, you are in what? New York City, Staten Island. Get the point? إن المقصود مما يدل على أنك قد خرجت من بلدتك وبدأت في الرحلة والسفر, proving that you are a traveler, even though it's barely a mile outside of Bayonne. It's barely 5 miles outside of your home. Then you're arguing with the state trooper. My house is right over the bridge. Sorry, you're in New York City right now, and you're going to court based off of the laws and rules of New York City. So therefore, the trick, when does it begin, is based off of adat-nas, the people's customs and understandings. وَمِنْ ذَلِكَ, and from that is a toll. You don't pay tolls locally, do you? Or maybe I'm mistaken. Do you, Wahid? Do you pay tolls within your city? Major big bridges, do you go across them within your city? You guys get my point or not? Within New York City, the Brooklyn Bridge, Williamsburg Bridge, Queens Bridge, Verrazano Narrows Bridge. That's a big bridge that you're paying tolls for, proving that Brooklyn to Staten Island is a different city. Everybody understand this? Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Wa iyyakum subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. May Allah help our brothers and sisters in Gaza and in the West Bank and continue to support them. Have mercy upon those who have lost their lives, those who have been martyred, those who are oppressed, and those who are wrong there. We ask Allah to unite them upon the truth and to give them unity upon their goals and their aims and their objectives, and to protect them from those evil wrongdoers. Allahumma ameen.